Greetings, greetings, shalom, shalom. We'd like to welcome everyone to another Ethereal Life Conversation. And we are very, very excited to have one of our elders that's going to share with us on some of our ancient ancestry. And this is Elder Azur Eliakim. And he is,
Eliakim, yes.
say again?
Eliakim.
Eliakim.
Yeah.
Hallelujah. As always, I've got my lovely co-host, Elisa Ephraim, Israel. So we're ready to go.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
All right. So go ahead and pick up where you were, Azur, because you were on a roll.
All right. Previously, we were discussing this matter. We didn't get a chance to go to great lengths, so perhaps we'll do that this time. What I was talking about is the seriousness of the Hebrew culture as it relates to the entire planet and the universe as a whole. Um, for the most part, a lot of our Hebrew leaders, which are primarily males, they don't really decipher the scriptures the way they should. What we were talking about previously is uh, how the scripture names us as the children, the sons rather, or the daughters of Yahweh. So the thing about that is that we don't take that serious. We'll blurt it out of our mouths, but we really, if you were to really sit down with our leadership and say, what is the significance of that? You would be quite amazed at some of the varied responses that you would get. So what I do is that I take that very seriously. So when I first heard that, what I became an Israelite back in the early '80s. I did research on that. I'm seeing that we're being called the sons and the daughters of God, and in some instance, we're actually being called gods. So when I did research on it, it took me back into my Sumerian studies, and as a result, I found that the so-called Hebrew Israelites, in fact, hold on, let me get rid of this call a moment. Can't. Just give me a minute.
Yeah, not a problem.
Okay. What I found out is that the so-called Hebrew Israelites, we had names before we were given that term Hebrew Israelite, which is more or less a title than the name of our species. We were called Adamites or the Adamic seed. And after that, we were called the Adapites or the Adapite seed. Okay, there's a difference between the two. The way that the white scholars has written the commentary in the Bible, not the words of the gods. See, if you want to go back, you're only going to get a very few words of the gods in the Bible. You're going to hear prophets speaking mostly, and sometimes priests. Okay, so the priests get the problem, take it to our God, and the prophet comes back with the resolution. So you never really hear anything straight from our gods or the other gods that we worship. Yeah, that's right. Israel was a henotheistic people, not a monotheistic race or species, rather. We believed in several deities, but we only worship the high God, like Yahweh or El Elyon, who is Yahweh's father. Okay, so with that being said, we take that son and daughter for granted because what it means, if I call a child my son, I can use that figuratively and I can use it literally. Well, the Bible is using it literally. We were actually born in the wombs of goddess Adam, who and Eve. They were the prototypes. were born in the womb of goddesses. Okay, once you get born in the womb of a god, you inherit their birthright.
Mm.
Okay, we were not born mortals. And the scriptures, if you pay close attention to it and read in between the lines or check some of the sentences out, the verses, you will see that. But you will see it even more when you actually read the original scripture that Genesis was taken from, which is called the Enuma Elish. Okay, and a lot of those other stories, like the wars in the Bible, they were written before the Bible was written down. Moses is pulling them from the original source. The prophets pulled them from the original source. The only thing that was added to the original source was our history for that particular time. But the other tablets have our history in it. But the difference is that we lived and we walked among the gods and goddesses when they walked the earth. One of the biggest failures that we make with the scriptures is that we look at that word God. When that word stand alone, look it up. Go into a concordance and look it up. And what you're going to find is that it says gods, plural, not singular. It is speaking plural. So when you understand that, you begin to realize that we've been lied to heavily. Because let me give you an example. If Jeremiah say, and God told me to go to the people and deliver this word, if that word is God standing alone without Yahweh in the front of it, then it actually should be gods. Jeremiah should say, and the gods told me to deliver this message to the people. They don't want us to understand this about the deities that we worship and that we lived amongst in ancient times, because they couldn't control us. They had to put us into a monotheistic religion, make it white people so that we can serve and worship them. Okay, instead of because
I have a quick question.
sure.
Is that where we read Elohim in the Hebrew?
Yes, the word Elohim in 430 in the Strong's Concordance. It means gods.
Right. It's plural. Okay.
Yes, it means gods. But you have elders out there that understand this but refuse to teach it because they still haven't pulled away from worshiping our captors and can come out of the God spell, come out of that religion so you can see the reality. Now, as I was saying, when a God called us his or her sons or daughter, that means that they gave birth to us. And if they gave birth to us, we have the same birthright that they do. Now, what happened? Yes.
That's powerful.
What happened to the Hebrews is that Enki, which is the wisest of all the gods in the royal family and on the planet that was given to them, he when he created us, when he created Adapa and Titi, he broke the God spell. Because on Adam and Eve there was a God spell. That's not Adam and Eve. In Genesis, you got the story of Adam and Eve and Adapa and Titi, and what was the third Adam? His name was his wife was I can't remember their names right now, but as we speak, it's going to come back to me.
Is that why it seems to be like two creation stories in Genesis?
Yeah, it's two. One of them is a cloning, and a okay, I got to break that down. I remember the name. It's Zakar and Nekeba. These are the three Adams. Zakar, and Nekeba ascended and became gods. They didn't even stay on the earth. They don't talk about him. You can go into dictionaries and encyclopedias and find out about them and on certain tablets. Okay, now in Genesis, there's the creation of Adam and Eve. Okay, and man, they got this story so garbled up, it just doesn't make any sense. Okay, so in Genesis, Adam and Eve was created. However, they were not created in no one day. It took them about 40,000 years to create them. And then the female deity named Ninhursag, because there were three of them in the garden. Enki and his son, Ningish Zida. They couldn't get it right. They kept bumbling for thousands of years. They was trying to make us. That's why some people who are astute would say, who in the heck was Adam and Eve dealing with? Because they were lower species in the Garden of Eden. Enki could not kill them, so he let them live. And he kept them in the Garden of Eden. Okay, so Adam and Eve was created, and the way they were created was through a process called in vitro fertilization that we just learning how to do today. Mm-hmm. They took the egg of a Bigfoot female and put their genome and sperm in it. They put their sperm and mixed some of their genome in the egg, placed it back in the womb of the female Bigfoot, but because we don't come from apes. And I'm gonna really slam that down in a minute. Okay, but they kept failing with the process. They would come out too hairy, one leg shorter than the other, eyeball closed, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So they got frustrated. Enki and his second oldest son. Water just running. It's just running. They got frustrated. They got frustrated, and what happened was that Enki called on his half sister, which, as I said previously, her name is Ninhursag. So Ninhursag was wiser than Enki. So when she got there, she looked at what they were doing, examined the technology, looked at the CDs, and then she sat them down and she said, "You're doing this all wrong. Okay, in order for you to be a success, you have to get rid of this technology that we created on Nibiru and make the same technology from earth minerals." So that was the first thing she did to move the creation of Adam and Eve forward. Okay, after she did that, they experimented for maybe about one cycle, about 3,600 years. Then she realized that they had to make another change. She said, we're going to put our likeness, which means we think like them, we act like them, we move like them. Just remember what they said. They wanted man to be made in their image and after their likeness. The likeness means, well, we know what the image means. We had to look like them.
Right.
Okay. So the likeness meant that we had to have their intellect. We had to have their dexterity. We had to be able to handle the advanced technology that they use because they made us to be primitive workers. Okay, so once Adam and Eve was created, they realized after a while that they could not procreate. So what they did was, this is in the second chapter of Genesis, I think the 18th verse, they Enki, Ninhursag, Adam and Eve were taken into a laboratory. They were anesthetized. And you read all of this in the second chapter of Genesis. And I don't understand how people don't figure this out, especially Hebrews. They were anesthetized, all four of them. So they went into their bone marrow and they took some of their stem cells and DNA. And what they did, Adam and Eve could not procreate because they only had, they were 2 chromosomes short. So they had to take the X chromosome from Ninhursag and place it in Eve. Then they had to take the X and the Y chromosome and place it in Adam. Once they did that, because they went through a lot, I'm going to talk about the changes that they went through and why it was brought to this specific point. Okay, so they put the chromosomes in Adam and Eve, and they were able to procreate. They had to do this because they had invited 7 birthing goddesses. once they realized, originally when they realized that Adam and Eve could not procreate, and then Hersar came to the earth and she brought uh, priestesses and other scientists, female scientists, with her, and they could not. When Adam and Eve could not procreate, they went through several thousands of years where all they would do is impregnate them, and that's how they got their primitive workers. So then Herzog and Enki looked at each other and realized, and man, these are conversations that they have. I mean, literally going into way more detail. I'm giving you guys a fast story, okay? But they had conversations about this, and they realized, they said, we're gonna kill these birthing goddess because they're gonna age. We already have to make an elixir for us not to die on this planet because their circadian rhythm became attached to the Earth's and the sun's circadian rhythm. So it shortened their lifespan to like 450,000 years. So they brought these birthing goddess in and they realized that this is not going to work. So that's when Ningishita checked the DNA and said they 2 chromosomes short. That's why they can't procreate. So Enki and then Herzog, his half sister and his wife at one time, volunteered to have some of their DNA taken from them so they can give them the ability to procreate, and they wouldn't have to use the birthing goddess anymore. Okay, so they get past that. Everything is hunky-dory. They're not working in South Africa in those gold mines, by the way, which the governments from all over the world that have went into those gold mines say that the technology that was used to set up those gold mines in South Africa and mine them, they can't even match it today. This is all over the world. You know, I'm working on a book right now to show how the Hebrews went all across this planet, creating pyramid civilizations and using technology that can't even be matched today. I was doing I did a conversation with a guy on the internet and I shared it with Abraham, and I showed the difference between the Adapite and the Adamic seed. And if you recall, Abraham, the Adapite seed was the one sitting in that office at a desk with laptops computers that looked like they came from what?
Best Buy.
The early 2000s, huh?
Yeah, it look like they came from Best Buy.
Yeah, straight up.
Right.
Okay. Now
I
this is
actually saw, he shared it with me as well. I saw that. That was amazing to see that. Yeah.
So you have to understand when you're listening to these albino people here in the US or anywhere from the world, they exclude us out of their history. So when they say we were hunters and gatherers, we did that, but we use advanced technology. That's what they don't tell you. Their primitive seed was hunter and gatherers. We were born into extremely advanced civilizations.
Wow.
Okay, so we never had to act that primitive. We were expected to be an advanced species. So as we move further, Enki started examining the Adamic seed, and he found out that they're retrogressing and dying at 15,000 years. So he had to figure out a way to make them live for longer periods of time because they were going to be extinct in maybe 100,000 years, and the primitive life forms that were on the earth at the time would have kept on evolving, and it would have took millions of years for them to get to where Adam and Eve was. So what he did, and this is when the Ice Age was coming, this is why scientists they say there's a missing link. No, there's not a missing link. You don't want to acknowledge the deities that came here and started advanced life on this planet. They don't want to acknowledge them. So they say there's a missing link because man jumped from a very, very primitive stage to the Homo sapiens stage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the scientists are baffled because they don't want to deal with the reality. They know about the Anunnaki. They've been knowing about them for, wow, about 100 years now. Okay, so we're the ones that are the Johnny come lately. Okay, so this thing is so baffling to them. It's keeping them behind. So what Inky did was he said, okay, I have to fix this. So he went out in his sky plane, because they had, like we drive cars, they drive vehicles that fly in the air, and we did too. Any teacher of the Bible, and when I talk about teachers and studying the Bible, I'm referring to our people. Okay. Should realize when reading about the Tower of Babel that we were an advanced civilization. Because I just can't imagine how the Creator can look at a tall building and then cause us to speak all these different languages just for a tall building. They did way more than that. They created a city like NASA, but was way more advanced than NASA. They had flying cars. They were getting ready to go into outer space to visit some of those constellations that they were taught about through our ancestors, the Anunnaki. Okay, so as you may very well know by now, Enlil was deathly afraid of us because when he created us, he gave us the ability to surpass them. And he broke the God spell in Adapa and Titi and in Adam and Eve. And then his brother Enlil didn't like that. So, okay, we're approaching this ice age, right? Mm-hmm. And what happened is that Enki decided, I'm going to get in my sky car and I'm going to fly where the Adapites are living to find 2 Adapite females that were not de-evolving. They were not going back to a primitive state, hair all over their body, or acting like they don't have good cognizance, slow in learning, not able to speak well. That's what was happening to the Adamic seed. So Enki said, I gotta make an upgrade. So what he did when he found 2 very attractive Adapite females that were superior, they were not retrogressing, and he had sex with them and he impregnated them, again, giving us more of the God genome. Every time one of those gods mated with us, they enhanced our genome. And that's why white people want to say that everybody is created equal, but then they're racist as hell. They know we are not created equal to them, and their scientists are finding out with each and every year more distinct advantages that we have by being the sons and the daughters of gods. Okay, so what Enki did, he mated with these 2 females, and they gave birth to Adapa and Titi. Now, these are his sons and his daughters, so they were shining ones. When the gods would mate with a human and create a child, that child was a shining one. And what I mean by that is that they had a white light that came from them, that glowed, the way Moses glowed, I believe in the 34th chapter of Exodus, when he became a god. Noah was born like that because Enki had sex with Lamech's wife and gave birth to Noah. So white people try to say he was an albino instead of explaining that white light that came from him. You get this when you start reading the tablets, when you read the birth of Atrahasis or Zuisudra. These are Noah's cuneiform names. His Assyrian, his Sumerian, and he has a Elamite name. Okay, he's not called Noah. You got to remember that biblical Hebrew was invented by Jewish people. It took them 600 years to make that language up, put the vowel pointings on it, and then put it out there as if we spoke that when we didn't. That's a primitive language. Abraham didn't speak that. He could, but that was not his native tongue. Abraham came from Sumer, where the gods were. He lived amongst gods. So he was very advanced. So when we start talking about the Hebrew race, the reason all these nations want to get rid of us is because they know that we are the sons and daughters of gods. Okay? And they're the ones that we are going to reclaim this earth and be immortals. They know that they're immortals. They are mortals compared to us. We just had Ningishita was the one with he was told by Enki to take our immortality from us. And you're going to see that when you read the Lost Book of Enki. Adapa was sent to meet their father, Anu. See, the gods that came down here, they were from the royal family. That's why Israel is a nation, a royal nation of kings and priests, because we descended from the royal family of the gods. You had the royal family and you had the Igigi. The Igigi were the servants, Anunnaki. They were the ones that came from Mars to the earth and saw that their brothers was marrying Adapite females, and then they took wives. In the 6th chapter of Genesis, they took wives. And there was a huge war over that because Enlil did not like that. And these gods were saying, we don't care what you don't like. You letting the Igigi here on the earth marry and have families. We've been down here for thousands more. What? By the time they came to the earth, about 200,000 years had went by since our creation. So when you see something in Genesis like, and they gave us dominion of the earth, that didn't happen to more than 150,000 years after the Adapite seed was created. This is how bad the white man is screwing up our sacred text.
Wow.
This is why our scholars got to get their heads out of the buttholes of these white people or albinos race and start finding out things for ourselves. We have to do that. We have no other choice. We're the seed of God. And they're checking the nations now. They're here. And they're meeting with these people, letting them know what is going to happen. And they see, white people, white scholars think that they can get out here and make us fight the Anunnaki. They can't even detect a ship of the Anunnaki when it enters into our atmosphere or over our flying zone. No nation on this planet, not even the Chinese, can detect their ships. They can't. So how are we going to fight beings when you can't even detect their ship with your primitive radar? You can't. But they're trying to get us to fight them, and that's not going to work. Everything they're doing is failing. That's why America is losing its edge. The dollar is going to get busted down, and our people are not going to be ready. And we are the children of gods. Look at what David made that clear to us. He first, in the 82nd Psalms of the Bible, David went to Melchizedek. Melchizedek is a deity that rules over gods. Even Anu, the chief of the royal family back on Nibiru, he tells him what to do. And they cower in his presence because he was sent by the primordials. The reason that he was sent by the primordials to the earth was to check them because they was acting like they lost their minds. They was killing us, using us like pawns on a chessboard and wiping hundreds and thousands of us out on a whim, because the way they did it was that they took when they came here, Eridu was the first city-state that they made. That's like a small country. That was the first city-state that they made, okay? But it was a total of 8 of them. And so what happened was in each city-state, whoever the God was for that city-state said he was the God of creation, that he created man and everything. And this was going on in all 8 city-states. So when one of the gods would treat us bad, Enki told us, walk away from him and go and worship a God that's going to treat you nice. There's few wars in the Bible. And Enlil is dressing it up and telling you that these nations were evil, but they weren't. What happened was that they walked away from one God and went to another, and that God got pissed off. So they go back and cry to Enlil and say, my humans, they left me. I mean, literally, some of those gods were literally crying.
Hmm.
And so this would kick off a war that would cause thousands of us to die. There's not very much evil that any of the nations did in the Bible. It was Enlil. He was a psychopath. And the thing about him is that he wanted people to be loyal to him and not even look like they was twitching towards another god. If he saw that, he would kill people. But even thinking about leaving him and going to another god. And that's what he was doing with, look at this story. When you read in the prophets, especially in the book of Jeremiah, you see that the Israelites dealt with Baal.
Mm-hmm.
That was his title. But that was Enlil's son by the name of Hadad. All of the Israelites in the Levant, I mean, not just the Israelites, all nations in the Levant worshiped him. So when Enlil sent Abraham out of Sumer into Haran to conquer that region and take it for his own, he was going up against his own son. He wouldn't kill his son, but the Hadad was good to the Hebrews. So you saw how Enlil, man, he made us walk 40 years in the Sinai Peninsula until he killed all those Israelites that rebelled against him. Only their children walked into Israel. Well, in any event, Hadad was treating us good, and so was Asherah, his wife. You'll have some stupid scholars, especially black ones, that would say Asherah is Yahweh's wife, when Yahweh's wife, her name is Ninlil. Her original name was Sol. But after he raped her and got ostracized, and she said, bring him back, I'll marry him, he was put back in the position of the Yahweh. That's a position. Yahweh is that name is a position that Anunnaki move in and out of. They have their, I think about 2,600 years, something like that. They take a house in the global the global cycle. The amount of time it takes the Earth to make a complete cycle is about 24,000 years, and it has 12 houses there. That's what the zodiac steals from. And in each one of those houses, a god rules in that house. We're coming out of Enki's oldest son, Marduk, and this dude is a trip. The stuff that he's been doing on the earth to keep us asleep, because we had to be put into an 11,000 year sleep in order for us not to take the planet back before they wanted us to do it, because we are superior. We're superior to these other nations. So they put us on, they try to reinforce the God spell, which it worked on a lot of our people, because they believe that they don't have a God, the essence of the primordial creatrix in them. And so they got to have someone govern over them. And they don't understand that these deities, they are our ancestors and they are avatars for us. They had to be police, as I was getting ready to go into, how David in the 82nd Psalm, there's only 8 verses in there. In the first 4 verses, he addresses Melchizedek. Now, how many times do you encounter Melchizedek's name in the scriptures? What? Twice in the Old Testament and once in the New Testament? Mm-hmm. That's for a reason. Melchizedek is like a police of the gods. He was sent to the earth to put them in check and say, this is how we got dominion over the earth. He was sent to the earth, and he told them, if you don't give this planet to the Adapite seed, I will destroy all of you. He had to tell them to shut up because they tried to argue with him. He said, I'm a plenipotent God. Shut up when I speak. And they cowered like little mice until he informed them that they had to give the planet to us. They had to give us technology. They had to train us and everything. And they did it. But Enlil is hard-headed. He would still do sneaky things and try to thwart our people and keep us down because he feared that we would go to their planet and try to take it over. because of the way, see, in those gold mines in South Africa, the Anunnaki, after a few thousand years, they start complaining about labor. Our species went in those gold mines and never complained. Never, not one time. And then Lil is watching the feats that our people are performing. Because you got to remember, we were giants for a long time, and then they reduced us in stature. That's why you have giants living in the world right now. We were giants. And Genesis tells you that. A God that is a giant can't mate with us at the stature that we have now. We had to be just like 20, 25 feet tall, just like them. So Melchizedek, David addressed him. And listen how David addressed him. He told Melchizedek, he said, you judge it among the gods, because he used the word God, but it should have been plural. Because when you keep reading the first 4 verses, he's getting on him. He told Melchizedek, he said, your judgment is wicked, because it's widows on the planet. You don't make the gods do what they're supposed to be doing. It's too much evil on this planet, stealing, lying. They have to do their job, and that means you got to do yours, because they're not going to do it if you're not telling them what to do. This isn't if you think I'm lying, go back and read that first 4 verse. He's addressing Melchizedek, and a lot of people, he's not addressing God. You go into the Dead Sea Scrolls, and the Dead Sea Scrolls will give you all of the Melchizedek scroll. It'll give you all of the different places where Melchizedek's name is used. It's about 60 some times he's used in the Old Testament. And David was addressing him angrily. Go back and read that, and you're going to see that David was pissed as he addressed him. He said, man, these gods is just running around like they're stupid. You need to get them in check so they can bring balance back to the earth, because they took it away from the earth. And the primordial sent Melchizedek to let them know, you're going to have to bring balance back to this planet, because they came on here and they did a lot of bad, and they took the balance from the earth. And so once he addressed Melchizedek, he turned to us, and he told us, he said, ye are all gods. And notice what he said after that, ye are all the children of the Most High. He wasn't referring to Yahweh. He was referring to Anu, who is the father of Yahweh. He said, you are all the children of the Most High, El Elyon. El Elyon rarely refers to Yahweh in the scriptures. It's talking about Anu. The Egyptians just came out and called him An by his short name. That's why Joseph married a priestess from An or Anu in Egypt, because he was a Nazir. His dad dedicated his whole life to being a priest from the order of the Nazir. Okay. So Joseph had to marry a priestess when he went into Egypt. She was a priestess of An, that's Anu. Because the Egyptians, one thing we got to get out of, the Egyptians are our family. Let's stop debating them, and let's look for the similarities. Okay, they was beaming Yahweh down too. That's right, the Ark of the Covenant was advanced technology made from gold, where Yahweh was beamed into a chair. That was his throne. Look at the Ark of the Covenant, a real depiction of the Ark of the Covenant. The way the cherubim, what the white man called them, they got 2 wings that is the back of the chair, and they got 2 that are the armrests. Oh. That's his throne. The Egyptians had the same thing, because those were Anunnaki that were in Egypt. And that's why Enlil wouldn't touch the gods. He would send plagues that the gods couldn't stop, because he was Yahweh. So they couldn't turn back his will. But those were his nieces and nephews, those 11 plagues that he was putting on them. Those were his nieces and nephews. Those were Enki's son and his son's Marduk's children. Okay, so David told us, he said, man, ye are all gods. You're the children of the Most High. But you want to take riches. Now he's talking about entertainers. You will take riches and die like a prince instead of a god. And he told us by doing that, the whole earth is out of sequence. This whole earth is messed up because our people chose to be mortals instead of immortals. That's what David is saying. If you take the blinders off your eyes and read, a God is not supposed to die.
Mm-hmm.
A God, what is a God going to do with money? If I live to be 40,000 years old, what the hell? Money is not going to mean that much to me. It is the level of life that I live, not the level of money that I have, because money is designed for us to help those who are less fortunate to us, that can't think like we. That's why our Creator tells us it's always going to be greater and lesser people in the world. That lie about we all created the same, that is a straight up lie. We're not all created the same. We are superior to all of the species on this planet because we are the master copy. They are hybrids of us, even African. So we have to shake the dust off of our shoes, get the blinders off our eyes, and start acting like the children of God, because they're going to be coming for us in a minute.
Now, my question is that when you said even Africa or African, explain that when you just said that, they're hybrids, even Africa.
When I say that they're a race, we are a species, the white man don't like for us to talk like this. He'll tell you there cannot be no subspecies that are racist, but there is. A race is a lower form than a species. And the reason I say that Africans are not equal to us is because we have more of the genome of the gods in us. They don't. They have a potential to ascend. Some of them, the ones that we heavily mated with, like in Ethiopia, Sudan, the west coast of Africa, we mated heavily with those Africans in that region, and we put our genome in them. Okay, and Yahweh talks about it in the Bible. He said, "Man, when I scattered y'all into these nations, I polluted my seed." That's letting you know. If you pollute something, that you're making it less than what it originally was. Okay. So that's why we shouldn't mate with white people. We shouldn't mate with Africans. Why do you think Moses' sister Miriam got pissed off at him when he married, who was that? Keturah?
No, he married, was it Keturah?
I think it was.
Cushite. She was a Cushite. I
Yeah, I
remember.
think that was I think that was either, yeah, that had to be Keturah.
I
When he
know
married,
Abraham's second wife was Keturah. That's what that's
hold on, who was Moses' wife? What was her name after Zipporah?
right.
Who?
There was another one, and she was a Cushite.
Right, which we could have made it with because our seed is heavily in the Cushite people. Most of your Ethiopians are Cushite. And we might be in the kingdom with all of them because we made it heavily with them because they men and they women are handsome. Okay.
Right.
One thing about Hebrew male and females, we like attractive men and women. We just like our Father in that. So I was saying that Miriam got pissed off because she knows that, well, in her mind, she thought that it was going to make us less than what we were. But see, priests know more than what the regular people know. Miriam just didn't know that, neither did Aaron. They didn't understand what Moses did because you got to remember, Moses had seed in Egypt. A lot of those pharaohs and those queens that ruled in Egypt were children of Moses.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. And Joseph, too. Joseph left kids there, too, that were royal.
So my question is that it's just a quick question concerning because of this, because I'm just trying to really center in on the chosen are primarily the chosen, the ones that have been scattered to the four corners of the earth and not necessarily on the continent of Africa, the seed
Right.
of Israel.
That's our seed. It's still us. We just have to hold ourselves together and start unifying. They're just like us. They act like us. They do the same thing we do. You can go to Australia and see our people over there. What's that island that we live on in abundance? Ah, man, it's right off Australia. Girl, I got so much stuff going in my head. I can't remember half of this stuff. Uh, uh, Papua, Papua.
Oh, yes. They are
Ain't
over
nothing
there.
but ain't
Yeah.
nothing but Hebrews on that island. We run that,
And
and
I
we in
saw
Australia, huh?
I saw them actually doing the Shema.
Yeah,
Exactly, years
they
ago.
dress like the Zulu Hebrews.
Right. Right.
They look just like the Zulu Hebrews.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. The Zulu is our people too. Shaka was ours.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Okay. Now I'm straight.
Nelson Mandela
Teleprompter.
was a
Thank
Hebrew. Winnie Mandela was a Hebrew. This is how ignorant we are because a lot of Hebrew male leadership, when you say we are Africans, we are the Africans too. They'll say we're not Africans. And I don't even understand how they could shake their mouth to say that when we ran into first we were in the northwest, northeast, and central, northern central part of Africa. Then the Romans came in there in the Catholic Church and pushed us down towards the western part of Africa because that whole horn of Africa used to be called Ceuta, Seudah. And when they remapped the world
you.
after they started claiming, after they put us in slavery, because they couldn't take Africa until they got us off that continent. If you think I'm lying, research colonialism. And you're going to find out that they could not colonialize Africa until the Africans betrayed us and turned us over to them. And right after that, they rushed in there. They had their conference. We taking this part of Africa. The Germans going to take this. The Swedish people are going to take that. Britain is going to take that. America, and that's what they did. Mm-hmm. And man, that tore us a new butthole. Our people don't understand how this thing works. If we really came over here to America and decided to do right, we would have been gone 2 days later. Mm-hmm. We didn't have to stay over here for no 400 years. We passed that. And the only reason he's going to get tired in a minute, he's going to start slaughtering us because we are not uniting. We have to have a hive consciousness. Mm-hmm. And we are nowhere near that. Why do you think he wants us to rename ourselves? Those frequencies cause us to link up with other people with the same frequency because that frequency has a work that it has to do. My frequency has a work that it has to do. So I need to be hooking up with people who have that sound or one similar. Mm-hmm. Okay. And that's what we're not doing that. We don't understand that all of us are not going to stay on the earth because we don't understand the prophecies. Some of us are going to leave and go to another planet like Earth and be an advanced species. That's what they've been doing. And they told us in the scriptures. On the tablets, they talk about it. These white folks be trying to turn the Anunnaki into reptilians. And when you look at the tablets, show me a tablet where it has a reptilian Anunnaki on it. You're not going to find it. They come up with all these half-cocked stories that they can't validate. They'll tell you the Lyrians are white people. Come on, man. Come on. Anunnaki, when they landed near Area 51, they told American top army officials that we are the rulers of the Milky Way galaxy. Wow. We all over this galaxy. That's what was told to Job. Man, and they'll ask him, he said, man, please, don't you can get mad, but where were you when I put the people in Orion? When I put the people in Pleiades? Where were you at? Now he's talking about our kind. Right. In these different star systems. But when you talk to Israelites, they're going to tell you, A lot of Hebrews will tell you they don't even believe that the white man went to the moon. The reason they don't believe it is because they don't know it was 4 black women that put NASA on the moon. They couldn't, man, this white man that is ruling the world today, he cannot do that on his own. He can't. He cannot do it.
Can I say this?
What?
Just to give you an idea, my father, when he was electrical engineer, graduated from Howard University, worked for the government at the Navy Yard here in Philadelphia. He drew up the schematics for the first nuclear submarine, the Polaris.
And he don't get no credit for it, does
No, he got after he passed away, yes, and we didn't even my family didn't know until he passed away.
and didn't get a dime.
No,
Look at what they're
we got a
doing.
pension.
Look at what they're doing to Abraham. Abraham is living proof. Look
Yeah,
how they're doing him.
yeah. So when you mentioned about NASA and
Don't
the
worry,
4
Azur.
women,
We about to correct all of that.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But when you mentioned that there were 4 black women that put them on the moon, that's what it was. That whole technology, the technology, the capabilities that we have in our people. That's
That's
why
the
I
God.
bring that
That's
up.
the, come on, let me clean that up.
Yes,
That's the
please.
God that's in us.
Yes. Tell it.
That's leaking out. We slaves and we designing cities with no education. That's in our DNA.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, scientists have proven that you can literally write a program and put it on the DNA
Right. I've seen that.
and take it off.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they did to us.
Mm.
It's in our DNA. We can't help it. We can't. And when they make us remember everything, oh man, it's over for these nations.
Mm-hmm.
It's over for them. That's why Yahweh said, Israel is my battle axe. If
Mm-hmm.
we think we ain't gonna do no fighting, we crazy. Because power never concedes to any demand unless it's backed by equal power.
Mm.
So if it took violence, murdering, and killings to get us into slavery, guess what? We're going to have to kill and
Mm.
use that same violence to take this planet back, because this planet is coming back to us.
Yes.
Because we look at our people as a whole. We are peaceful. We're more peaceful than the deities that created us. We never create weapons of war.
Right.
That's how they was able to take over the planet. See, the white man is like this. He gauged the advancement of his societies based on the violence that they can create through the weapons that they make. So the first weapon that he picked up was what? A stone.
Mm-hmm.
So he labeled that the Stone Age. Okay,
Wow.
that's how stupid they are. Then what came next? The Bronze Age,
Mm-hmm.
because he can now make a weapon out of bronze, a sword. What was after that? The Iron Age. This is how stupid this man is. And then we walked right behind him, thinking that that's what we were. No, we were. While they was doing that, we were living in advanced civilization, more advanced than the ones that we living in right now.
Mm.
So all of these inventions, all these things that we do, that's that God in us. We can't help it. We can't. We are the children of the gods, and we got to start acting like it. See, we got to get this self-hatred out of us, because the one thing that's stopping us from unifying is self-hatred. Now, a lot of people may differ with that, but when you get down to the nuts and bolts of it, why can't we unify? Because you got black people saying black people would never come together. Why? Why will we never come together? Because you don't want to say you have self-hatred in yourself. You want to be like the white man. When you espouse yourself to white morals, wearing his clothes, reading his books, studying his history, you're going to develop a self-hatred for yourself. I don't care how much you say you know, because if that was true, why would you see Queen Latifah walking around here with hair the color of piss, blonde hair. We didn't do that. Our people don't have a history of doing that. We won't even put on our own clothes.
Mm-hmm.
We can't do that. That everything about this nation that has enslaved us is diametrically opposed to us. And they do that on purpose. So when we put on their clothes, that's a conditioning of the mind.
Right. You were saying so many things because I went through cultural shock.
So did I.
From
Welcome
my
to the
own people.
club.
2 years culture shock because
Mhm.
I was hating my brothers when it really does boil down to hating myself. And it has to do
Exactly.
with the conditioning that I was receiving in white environments prior
And
to going, oh my
these brothers don't want to realize that the conditioning for the woman was way more brutal than it was for him.
hello.
They don't
It
want to
took me
acknowledge that.
2 years. It took me 2 years to recover. And then,
Brothers,
and then I realized even after that, I realized I was a Negropean. And I was
mhm.
like, oh my goodness, I gotta come out of that.
And we gods. We sitting
Right.
around letting mortal people rule over us, and we gods. This is not supposed to happen.
Nope, not at
That's
all.
why in Jeremiah he tells us, "Wake up, wake the hell up. You drunk and you haven't even had anything to drink, but you put this." Man, I be talking to them. I have conversations with them. You did this to us, and you want to tell us to wake up? Then you shouldn't have been so perfect in the way that you ruined us.
Hmm. But
We have to understand.
that self-love is absolutely the key. When you can love yourself, because the whitewash is real
That's
and it's
right.
subtle. But when you can love your hair, just your hair, and you can love yourself and just your skin and be
Which is
love
superior.
yourself, then who
All the
you
things
are.
that you name, Elishiba, everything that you just named makes us superior to them.
Mm-hmm.
Our hair are antennas that open us up to the cosmos. Okay, their hair is limp. They can't access the cosmos the way we do.
Right.
Our skin is melanated.
Mm-hmm.
5 different types of melanin in our skin that gives us the ability to ascend to a higher body. Remember, the chakras we have 7 chakras. Each one of those chakras give us the ability to go into a different realm.
Mm.
And because we won't accept chakras as a part of our scriptures. See, that's what Enlil did when he scattered us to different regions of the world and confused our languages. We all took pieces of what is called the maze. Capital E, capital M, capital E, small letter S. It's pronounced maze. So when you start reading that in the books, remember that it's pronounced maze. The maze are like the Torah. They are the instructions for creating a divine civilization. So when Enlil separated us in Genesis, that sent us into different parts of the world. And that meant that some of our culture went into some of our culture went into different parts of the world, like the Kama Sutra. All of the Kama Sutra, they belong to us because we're the most ancient race on this planet. That stuff came from us because the Anunnaki, they taught us.
Mm-hmm.
We're the children of the gods. They didn't want to, okay, after we start growing in numbers, the way it started off first is that when the Adamic race, Adam and Eve were made into a priest and priestess for their people. Okay, so they would have to go through Adam and Eve, and then Adam and Eve would take it to the gods after they increased in numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when they saw that the Adamic seed was retrogressing, Enki, as I told you previously, Enki decided to have sex and impregnate 2 Adamic females. I mean, girl, he was doing the freaky deaky with them. He didn't get nasty. I mean, man, they was rubbing fruit juice all over. Okay, you get my message?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm telling you, this is how detailed these records are. So when he impregnated them, that meant that Adapa and Titi were an upgrade. So now Adapa and Titi, the species, are the liaison between their own kind and Adam and Eve species, because we didn't unite with Adam and the Adamites until Jeremiah's time, when Anu said, y'all, they're gonna die out if you don't mate with them and fuse them into the Adapite seed. Okay, so once we got that upgrade, we became the liaison between the gods and the other Adapite seeds and the Adamic seed. If you didn't go to school to become a priestess or a priest, you couldn't walk before the Anunnaki, because you had to learn how to. That's what our laws do. They teach us how to walk before the Anunnaki. And I'm gonna tell you what's messing us up. America is a dichotomy. They like confusion. As long as they keep confusion in this country, the elite can rule. So what they do is that, for example, if I come out, the story that I'm telling right now, white people will pay somebody to tell an opposite story from me so that people can be split.
Right.
Because they know that the people are not going to do their proper research. They will agree with that other person, and they haven't done any research, and will swear on a stack of Bible what they're saying is true. So that's how they maintain control. So you had to become a priestess or a priest in order to go before them, because there are certain rules that you can't violate when you're in their presence. And when they come back to the earth this time, they want us to be a family. They want to walk amongst us like they used to do, because they really grew to love us. That's what spiked all those wars in the Bible, because they was getting pissed off that their cousin or their brother was taking their humans from them. But we were the ones that paid the cost. Now, you got some people out here that are painting an utterly bad picture. Anunnaki, I can't say they were bad. I can say they were disagreeable. Okay, because when we come to the knowledge that there's no such thing as Satan the devil, that's going to shake a lot of people up. That's a Christian doctrine that's designed to control us. There was an arch deceiver that existed. He's a reptilian too, but his problem is that he was born on the earth before our species, with our species. And then the Anunnaki came and advanced us. He was already advanced. I've showed Abraham a picture. Did I show you a picture of the male and the female, or just the male?
Just the male.
Well, if you look up the city of Ubay, this city actually predates the Sumerian city after the flood. Okay, the flood happened 11,000 years ago. Sumer was originally, with the 8 city-states, was originally created over 300,000 years ago. They don't ever deal with that Sumer. They might quote some text, but they never really deal with that Sumer. When you see white people writing, they're writing about the Sumer after the flood. Oh yeah, you gotta be able to catch them in their lies, girl, because they'll put it out there and get you confused.
Wow.
But our people are waking up. By you, me, and Abraham having this conversation right now, it proves that scholars are rising in our people. If people who study with me for a year, if they don't write a book after a year, I stop teaching them. People who's got to start writing books.
Right.
So we can start reading. We're going to be an advanced people so that we're going to get our telepathy back. And it tells you that in the Bible. It tells you that we're going to get, when he's going to start pouring his spirit in us, and a lot of our abilities are going to come back.
Wow.
A lot of them. Because we were designed to be giants on this planet, but when the Biru bumped into the earth and split it in half, after that, the flood and Nibiru caused the flood, and it caused meteors to hit the earth and kill all of the large animals. Some of them went into hiding, so we're going to start seeing them start manifesting. You're going to see dragons flying in the atmosphere. They're doing it now You just got to look for it.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to start seeing these ancient animals start coming back on the surface of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to be big because we were supposed to be big. The Anunnaki made us small because in real, he was afraid of us because of our intellect and our abilities. We scared him. He thought that we thought like they did. They're warlike people. We're not like that. We are peaceful. I mean, what black nation you know that make weapons of war?
Right.
We don't do that. I don't care where we at on the planet. We do not make weapons of war. It's only two races on this planet, black and white. And it's only been the white race that try to make weapons of war.
Right.
Because they know they're inferior to us and they couldn't beat us in a straight up fight. Man, we'd be whooping their butt.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to have weapons of war.
But wasn't it our spiritual gifts that actually you know was really we used to defeat them whenever they attacked us?
Yeah. The spiritual gifts leak into the physical body. Remember,
Mm-hmm.
you have chakras. That's your spiritual. Your spiritual gifts come out of the electromagnetic energy that's in you. And you got 7 chakras.
Mm-hmm.
And they take in cosmic energy and use it to animate your body.
Mm-hmm.
So once you study your brain frequencies and you get the 5 of them mastered, you can raise it and lower it for that particular chakra
Mm-hmm.
and get blasted into another dimension or realm.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what those are not physical bodies except for the root chakra. The root chakra gives us our physical body. But once you get over to the root chakra, those are spiritual chakras. They take you into other realms. But here in America, they don't want us studying stuff like that. They don't want us studying Reiki, healing with the hands. Acupuncture is an offshoot of Reiki. That's a power that exists throughout the Bible. You see Elijah doing it. Other people use Reiki, the power of healing with the hands, throughout the scriptures. We just don't take it serious. We read right over it. And we don't try to understand that this is the power of God that we're using that was taken from us.
Mm-hmm.
If
Wow.
Elijah, what's the difference between me and Elijah? He had a different education from me.
Mm-hmm.
People like us, we got to get out there and put the knowledge out there. We have no other choice but to do that, to enlighten our people.
Right. Well, I think that with all that you have said and all the information and knowledge and wisdom that you shared with us this time has been absolutely amazing. And
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And we're going to have you back again because this is a part of the process of getting it out there. And it's important that our people know who we are. We can't start to be prepared for the ascension, and we're going to get caught up in the air, but we're going to be meeting our ancient ancestors and then taking over this planet.
Yes.
And we won't do that unless our mindset has been corrected and we break the God spell.
Exactly. I would like for you to study what Hebrews said about Putin. Putin is the first white nation that submitted to us.
Right.
That process has already begun where Yahweh said, whatever nation that don't submit to you, I'm going to destroy them. Putin has started, he reached out to America. He told America in 2019, if you read that newspaper article I sent you called Stranger Than Fiction.
Yep, I read it.
You see, he reached out to Trump back then, right before COVID hit. Trump didn't want to believe him until he looked at the video, and now he's acting like Putin never warned him. So we know that America is going to be absolutely destroyed. This country, you got a lot of Hebrews saying that they are Native Americans, but what they don't understand about the Native Americans is that they are Hebrews. They came over here 60,000 years ago of their own free will.
Mhm.
Why you think they got fringes and breastplates on their garments? See, these are Hebrews that got hurt by these camps, whether a male or a female. The Israelites don't have culture. They think keeping the high holy days is the only thing that our culture consists of. That's not true. We have rites of passages that prove that you're coming from a baby into a toddler, from a toddler into a child, and there is a separate. Okay, within our these rites of passage calls us to uh, be separated from the family, and we go through a transition. It's a separation, transition, and then we're reincorporated into the community because our community is supposed to be like a family. It used to be that way. I'm old enough. I remember when it was like that. I remember where I couldn't do anything bad in my community because if a man or a woman saw me, they had rights to whip my butt and then report me to my parents, which puts my booty in jeopardy again. We don't have that anymore. That's when we took some of those Hebrewisms and we were using them to the best of our abilities. Well, we have a culture that calls for you to be separated from your family, taught the things you need to know for the next 7 years and get mastery over them. Okay, then that's the transition. Okay, after you go through the second stage, which is the transition, you are reincorporated back into your family and your community. If you don't have the proper knowledge, they don't respect you. You can't go into that next phase until you get the proper knowledge. And that's what we lack. You got 50-year-old men out there acting like they 15-year-old boys.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing for women.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's forced to deal with childlike men that are dwelling in feminine energy. Because they don't know how to cope with a woman's mind. So they dwell in feminine energy and they abuse the woman because they espouse themselves to the same principles that our captors use on us. He was the one who designed what a traditional woman should act like and what a traditional man should act like in the 18th century. And that's what we're doing right now. That's why our leaders got to be better than what they are because we are gods. We are late. We have latent God abilities. Let me put it like that. Wow, this is boy really cutting up. Yeah, we have latent God abilities, and we're not going to get them back until we start proving that we're worthy to manifest them and utilize them. And
I
what
think
we do, huh?
I was going to say, I feel as though you really have shared a tremendous amount of information that we need to process, allow our listeners to be able to process this. And I know that you have so much more to share, but you know, again, we have to realize that, with all the knowledge and information you have, it's going to take some time for people to process even what you shared at this point in time. So
Right.
wonder
I want to deal with that King's list that Abraham mentioned to me. I'd like to deal with that, but it's going to take us back to the so-called 7 patriarchs. So we can talk about that a little bit so people can get a greater understanding of what I'm saying when I say that we are immortals. They're gonna be able to grasp it a little bit better when we tackle that King's list because that King's list are the 7 patriarchs of the Bible. They were rulers, okay? And I hope that we get a chance to talk about that.
Absolutely. We can bring that up in the very next time we have you on because that is important to shift the paradigm from, people living to be 75 or 85 years old to knowing that our ancestors in the Bible it said Methuselah lived to be 969. But we had other ancient ancestors that on the Sumerian king list that lived to be 200,000 and 300,000 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Methuselah actually lived to be 54,000 years old.
Oh yeah, we have to multiply it times.
60,
Yeah.
a sexagesimal system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you
So
got to multiply that.
even that has to be reintroduced to the consciousness of our people.
Exactly, because that's the first level. We have to
Mm-hmm.
reintroduce it to the consciousness so it can hook up with those memories. We put
Yep.
it in their psyche. What we're doing right now is we're sharing things with our psyche. The superconscious mind is going to snatch it out of the psyche, and that's when it's going to take root.
Absolutely. So,
Okay.
Azur, I want to thank you for the time you spent. We're going to wrap it up for today, but we're definitely going to have you back, and we are grateful to even have access to you, and we appreciate you more than you'll ever know. So,
Man,
thank you
no
so much.
problem. I appreciate you guys. No problem.
Yeah.
All righty.
You make my work a lot easier.
Well, you haven't seen anything yet. We're just getting started. We're just putting, a bunch of content in the vault, if you will, so that when
Hmm.
we, hit the ground running in January, we'll have plenty of content. But
Right.
hopefully, before this month is over, we'll get a chance to speak to you at least one more time, if not maybe a couple of times. But
Right.
with that, we're going to go ahead and bring it to an end. We thank our listeners for listening. I thank you, Elizabeth, for you carried the weight of the conversation today. And I thank you, gave me a chance to just sit back and listen and absorb. So thank you, Elizabeth, for being such a wonderful host.
Oh, it was absolutely my pleasure. This is the if- because this is Ethereal Life Conversations. I had questions during the conversation.
Yeah,
Well, I
well,
hope you got them off. I hope you got all of them off.
I sure did. I absolutely did. So
Good.
definitely, I appreciate it.
No
Definitely.
problem. Glad to be at service. That's what I am. I'm a servant.
Same here. Yes.
all righty. Well,
So I look
thank
forward to hooking up with you guys again, okay?
Oh, absolutely. Don't worry.
Absolutely.
We're gonna be calling sooner than you think.
Yes.
Okay.
All
Well,
All
right.
righty.
until next time.
All right.
Shalom.
Until next time. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom.